Alright, so we're into the cool down period. I'm sure everyone will be eagerly looking forward to that part. So the first one is to lengthen out the posterior line. So literally it's running from the base of the foot. The posterior line actually finishes here. It runs at the base of the foot, the back of the leg, through the erectors of the spine, up the neck, finishes just around the eyeballs. So what we're going to do, if you have lower back pain, like if you have bulging discs or herniated discs, this may not be the stretch for you. A variation, well, you may need to keep away from this sort of flexion if you have a posterior bulge of your disc. So I'm going to roll down, line on my back, I pull my knees into my chest, and then I extend overhead. I pull my toes to my shin, and the aim is to keep the legs locked out and the toes pulled in. I've been sitting down quite a lot today. Hamstrings are a bit tight. But close to the ground, you can turn your foot in like this when you do it, so you get a slight more, a bigger stretch on the more outside of the calf, the hamstring as well. You'll hold that for 30 seconds. From there, we're going to do a myofascial stretch for the abdominals. So similar to in yoga, the prone cobra, with a slight few variations. So I'm starting with my elbows below my shoulders. I want to tuck under my pelvis because I want to fix my lower body. So my hips are glued to the ground, my elbows are below my shoulders, and I'm putting my shoulders in my back pocket. From here, imagine there's a magnet on your chest and on that wall there, and it's trying to lift you up. So because I'm glued down from pretty much my lumbar spine upwards, that stays where it is. You want to feel a stretch across the abdominal wall here. Now in some cases people can feel it in their lower back, and what I'll say is walk the arms out. You're going to find the strain comes away from your lower back and more into the abdominal region. But the principles are pretty much the same. You tuck under your pelvis, elbows or shoulders stay down away from your ears, and the magnet is pulling you up towards the wall there. So that's our abdominal stretch. We go into a hip flexor stretch. So this is for a muscle called the psoas. It literally helps the knee, the hip flex. It runs into the lower back. This is a very good one for people that have been sitting down, and I'm sure many of us have. So you go into a kind of lunge stance, bring your back foot out, and then push the heel out. So my heel's driven out, my leg has been brought out, which is internally rotating the hip. I like to sit back a little bit first before I do the next part. I tuck under, same as we were in the previous stretch. I tuck under, glutes tight, really try and get that hip opening from the glute. Once you've opened up as much as you can, you lean into it. Think of trying to get this hip towards the right ankle. So I'm stretching out my left hip flexor. I'm putting my left hip towards my right ankle. Keep the heel pushing out. Grow taller. Keep the pelvis tucked under and lean into it as much as you can. Then you bring your left arm out, externally rotate it, extension on the wrist. Then you get a bit of a side bend and then push your hand. So you've got a magnet here on your hand now, and it's being pulled across at a slight diagonal. Keep the chin and keep the spine long. Do not allow the pelvis to tilt forward. We need to keep it in that posterior tilt to maintain the stretching of the fascia around the psoas. 30 seconds each side. Then, whilst in that position, we can go into a quad stretch. Rest with your right hand down. We're stretching the right side, right hand down. We're going to grab the foot. I'll turn the side on so you can see. So you're going to grab your foot, pull the heel towards the bum, and then try to tuck under the pelvis, maintaining this stretch for 30 seconds. If that is hard for you to do, then what you'd want to do is go into the same position, put your foot up on the sofa or the bed, and then just try and lift up into it, and you'll get a similar sort of pull in the quads. We're trying to target the rectus femoris, which runs, it helps contract the quad, and also it's a bit of a hip flexor as well. So we've got a couple more, and what we're going to go into is the L-DOAs. So this is an L-DOA for decompressing the spine. For those of you that are sitting at your desk a lot, this is a very important one for you. Some of you would have done this with me, so you'll know some of the principles. What we're doing is having our legs crossed, and I'm pulling my toes towards my shin. My right foot toes is going towards my right shin. So I'm not plantar flexion, I'm dorsiflexing on both sides. What I suggest is flex and extend the spine a few times. Do that a few times. Then go in, imagine you're trying to pull and lengthen your spine as much as you can here now. Chin is in, crown is up. Shoulders in your back pocket. You bring your fingertips together. You place your hands over your head. You pull your elbows back and then just reassess everything. Are the toes, is the foot starting to relax? Pull the toes back into dorsiflexion. Pull your elbows back more. Pull the chin in towards the throat. And then you start to extend the arms up overhead. Now, it's hard to talk while doing all of this because you really do have to pay attention to what your body's doing. So my form would look better if I wasn't explaining it to you now whilst doing it. But the elbows are trying to go back. Keep the chin in and extend. These will want to come in. Get them back. The hands will want to come down. Pull them back. You want to try and lengthen the spine. This is working on decompressing T6, T7. So from there, we go into the L-DOA for the sacrum. So you're tucking under your pelvis. Legs are about 70, 80 degrees apart, and I'm pulling my toes towards my shin here. Toes are towards the shin, and then I'm internally rotating. So my toes are trying to point in towards each other. My heels, the outside of my heel, the lateral heel is trying to push out in the direction of that my leg is going. At this point, may go back to the pelvic tilt. So you're trying to tuck under. So this motion is happening with the pelvis. You're going to rest on your forearms and try to open up your chest without letting the sacrum or the pelvis area come off the floor. So you're pushing that area. You might even want to place your hands there just to get some feedback that you are actually pushing into that area. Chin in, lifting through the crown, pushing your heels away. And you start to feel a slight release at the S1 area. So the S1 is just below the lumbar disc. And it can sometimes get a bit jammed up in that area. This is a nice one to decompress the S1, S2 area. So that's your stretches and the L-DOAs. The L-DOAs you're holding for a minute. This is what we always do. And the stretches you're going to be holding for 30 seconds. So have fun with it. I hope you feel loosened up, refreshed. If you feel you still need a bit more time to recover, then I say lie down on your back, knees bent, feet flat, and just recenter your breath before you carry on with your day. Peace and love. I hope you enjoyed the workout. Take care and stay safe.